So here's the thing, I thought my life was pretty normal. My dad and I had always been close. Well, at least until my mom passed 3 years ago. She had cancer, and it was brutal. After she died, it felt like the glue that held us together was gone. My dad changed. He became distant, buried himself in work, and started acting like a totally different person. But still, I never expected this. The day it all started, I was just scrolling through Instagram as you do. Emily, my best friend since freshman year of high school, had posted a photo. She was standing in this beautiful outdoor venue, wearing a wedding dress. At first, I thought it was one of those bridal photo shoots. But then I saw the caption forever. And next to her, in a tuxedo, holding her hand, smiling like he just won the lottery, was my dad. I stared at my phone, blinking for what felt like forever. My brain couldn't process it. Was it a joke? A weird photo shoot? Some kind of prank? I kept telling myself there was no way this could be real. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized it was. My dad and my best friend, married. I don't even know what hit me first. Shock, betrayal, anger, sadness. It was like my brain short-circuited. I felt sick. My dad hadn't even mentioned dating anyone, let alone my best friend. And Emily, she never said a word about seeing someone, much less him. I immediately texted her, Emily, what the hell is going on? She didn't reply. Minutes turned into hours. Nothing. So I called her. She picked up, and her voice was annoyingly calm. Oh, I was going to tell you, I swear, she said. When, after the honeymoon, I yelled. She kept saying things like it just happened, and you'll understand one day. Understand what, Emily? That you married my dad in secret and didn't even invite me. Then came the cherry on top. She said, you should be happy for us. Happy. I hung up on her because I couldn't even form a coherent sentence at that point. But then my dad called. I almost didn't pick up. But curiosity and pure rage got the better of me. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded. He sighed, like he was the one being inconvenienced. I didn't want to overwhelm you, he said. You've been going through a lot. Overwhelm me. Are you kidding? How does not telling your daughter that you're marrying her best friend make anything better? I asked why he didn't even think to include me in the wedding. His response. It was a small ceremony. Just us and a few close friends. So apparently I'm not a close friend anymore. Cool, I wanted to scream. The more he talked, the worse it got. He actually tried to justify it by saying, Emily and I connected over the loss of your mom. She's been such a support for me. Support. She was my support system, not his. The thing is, looking back, the signs were there. Emily started spending more time at my house about a year ago. She'd always say it was to keep me company or check on me, but now I realize she spent more time talking to my dad than hanging out with me. She'd compliment him a lot, like a weird amount. Your dad's so wise. Your dad's in great shape for his age. I thought it was just her being polite. I feel so stupid now. The worst part, I can't shake the feeling that this started before my mom passed. I've been piecing things together, and some stuff doesn't add up. There were times my mom made comments about Emily being too familiar with my dad. She brushed it off as a joke, but now I wonder if she knew something I didn't. After that phone call, I blocked them both, Emily and my dad, on everything. I couldn't deal with their excuses or justifications. I told myself I needed space, but honestly, I just didn't want to hear their voices. But here's where it gets worse. That night, there was a knock on my door. It was my dad. He looked completely unbothered, holding a gift bag. I didn't even let him in. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting for him to explain himself. I know this is hard for you, he started, but you need to accept this. Emily is part of the family now. Family. He actually said family. Then he handed me the gift bag. Inside was a framed photo of their wedding day. Them, standing under some arch covered in flowers, smiling like they didn't just destroy my life. You should put this up, he said, like he was doing me a favor. I lost it. I told him to leave and not come back until he was ready to admit how wrong this was. He left, but not before saying, "You'll come around. I know you will." It felt more like a threat than reassurance. I haven't spoken to either of them since. I don't even know where to go from here. How do you process something like this? My dad married my best friend, and they act like I'm the one being unreasonable. Am I? Should I be happy for them? I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive them this. Update. I didn't think things could get worse after finding out my dad married my best friend, Emily, without telling me. But apparently, life loves proving me wrong. If I thought the wedding was the peak of this nightmare, I was sorely mistaken. Because last week my dad dropped another bombshell. They want me to call Emily Mom. Yes, you read that right. My best friend, who I've known since I was 14, who used to borrow my clothes and help me plan school projects, is now my dad's wife. And they think I should start addressing her as my mother. I honestly don't know whether to laugh, cry, or move to a remote island and never come back. Let me back up a bit. After the whole Instagram wedding debacle, I tried to go no contact with both of them. I blocked their numbers, ignored their attempts to reach out, and even skipped a family dinner my dad tried to guilt me into attending. I figured if I didn't engage, they'd eventually get the hint and leave me alone. Spoiler. They didn't. A week ago, my dad showed up unannounced at my apartment. I didn't want to let him in, but he wouldn't leave. So I caved. He walked in holding a plate of cookies, acting like it was some kind of peace offering. "Emily made these for you," he said, as if that would magically fix everything. "Why are you here, Dad?" I asked. I wasn't in the mood for small talk. He sighed, sat down on my couch, and gave me the speech. "You know the one. We're a family now. Emily loves you. It's time to move on from the past." I bit my tongue until he got to the kicker. "She's your stepmother now, so it would mean a lot if you called her Mom." I stared at him, thinking I must have heard wrong. "You want me to call Emily, my best friend, Mom?" I asked, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. "She is your stepmother," he said, like it was the most logical thing in the world. "It's a sign of respect, Emily, and I think it'll help you move forward." Respect. I felt my blood pressure spike. The audacity of this man to think I should respect a relationship that started God knows when, maybe even while my mom was still alive. Respect for what? For marrying someone who was practically my sister. I told him there was no way in hell I'd ever call her mom. His response: "You're being immature." That's when Emily decided to waltz in. Yep, she was waiting in the car and came up to join the conversation. She sat next to my dad, holding his hand like they were in a damn Hallmark movie, and started talking in that soft, condescending voice she always uses when she wants something. "I know this is hard for you," she said, "but I love your dad, and I love you too. I'm not trying to replace your mom. I could never do that. But I hope we can build a new relationship. Like mother and daughter, I couldn't take it anymore. Emily, you're not my mom. You're barely even my friend at this point," I snapped. "This is insane." Her face fell, but only for a second. Then she hit me with this gem. "You're being really selfish. This is about more than just you. It's about family. Family. That word has never felt so hollow." I told them both to leave, and they finally did. But not before my dad muttered, "You'll regret this attitude someday." After they left, I started replaying everything in my head. How did it get to this point? Was there something I missed? Were there clues? I kept thinking about the last year. How Emily would come over more and more often. How she'd always find excuses to talk to my dad. How she'd insist on staying late to help clean up after dinner. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. She was my best friend, and I trusted her. But now it all feels so obvious. How could I have been so blind? I've also started noticing how manipulative they've both become. My dad keeps playing the grieving widower card. Like his relationship with Emily is some kind of fairy tale romance that I should be grateful for. And Emily, she's gone full Stepford wife. She's all about appearances. Posting pictures of their happy family on social media, pretending like everything's perfect. It makes me want to scream. Then there's the kicker. Emily's been reaching out to my extended family behind my back, trying to explain her side of things. I found out because my aunt called me, asking why I wasn't happy for my dad. Apparently, Emily's been telling people that I'm struggling to accept change and that I need time to adjust. She's painting herself as the victim in all this, and some of my relatives are actually buying it. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Everyone keeps telling me to move on and be happy for them. But how am I supposed to do that? How do you move on from the fact that your best friend married your dad and now expects you to call her mom? It feels like a bad soap opera, except it's my life. Final update. If you thought my dad secretly marrying my best friend was bad, buckle up. Because what I found out at their baby shower makes the wedding look like a minor misunderstanding. I wasn't even going to go, but something kept gnawing at me, telling me I needed to be there. And thank God I listened to that instinct, because what I found out changed everything. It all started with an invite. Well, not really an invite, more like a poorly veiled guilt trip. My dad texted me out of the blue, saying, "It would mean so much to Emily if you came to the baby shower. She wants you to be part of this family," as if they hadn't already trampled on every boundary I had. I ignored it, of course, but then Emily texted too. "I hope you'll come. The baby deserves to have you in their life." The baby, not her, not my dad. Just the baby. It felt manipulative as hell, but it worked. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was I being selfish? Did I owe this unborn child at least something? So I decided to go, but not to make peace or be the bigger person. I went because something didn't sit right with me. The timing of everything, their whirlwind romance, their pressure for me to accept them. And now the baby. It all felt too convenient. I had to know if there was more to the story. The baby shower was held at my dad's house, which used to be my house before everything fell apart. Walking in felt like stepping into a stranger's life. Balloons, banners, pastel, everything. The theme was, "A little angel is on the way." Gag me. The guest list was a mix of family, friends, and people I didn't recognize. And there, in the middle of it all, was Emily, glowing and soaking up attention like a queen. My dad hovered around her like a loyal servant, beaming at everything she said. It was nauseating. I kept my distance at first, blending in with the crowd and listening. People were congratulating them left and right, making comments like, "You two are such a perfect match." And "This baby is so lucky to have you." I wanted to scream, but then I overheard something that made my stomach drop. Emily was talking to her mom, who I'd always thought was a sweet, clueless woman, when I caught the tail end of their conversation. Her mom said, "Well, at least now you'll be taken care of no matter what happens." Taken care of? What did that mean? Emily just laughed and said, "Oh, you know me, Mom. I always have a backup plan." A backup plan? What the hell was that supposed to mean? I couldn't let it go. I started mingling, pretending I was there to support the family, but really I was gathering intel. The more I listened, the more it became clear. Emily wasn't in this for love. She was in it for security. I eventually cornered Emily in the kitchen while she was grabbing more snacks. So I said, trying to sound casual, "You and my dad seem really happy. It all happened so fast, though. When did it start, exactly?" She froze for a split second before plastering on her fake smile. "Oh, it just kind of evolved. After your mom passed, we got closer. It felt natural." Natural, I repeated. Right. And the baby, was that part of the plan? Or, I let the question hang in the air. Her smile faltered. "What are you getting at?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "I think you know exactly what I'm getting at, Emily. Does my dad even know the whole truth?" She tried to laugh it off, but I saw the panic in her eyes. Before she could respond, my dad walked in, and the moment was over. But I wasn't done. The real bombshell came about an hour later. I was lurking near the dessert table when I overheard Emily and her best friend, not me, obviously, talking in hushed tones. Her friend said something like, "Are you sure you don't want to tell him? It's better he hears it from you than finds out later." Emily brushed it off, saying, "It doesn't matter. He'll never know." I couldn't take it anymore. I marched over and said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "Tell who what, Emily? What doesn't my dad need to know?" The room went silent. Emily turned white as a sheet. And my dad looked confused. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing between us. I didn't give her a chance to spin another lie. "Why don't you tell everyone, Emily? Or should I?" she stammered. I don't know what you're talking about." "Really?" I said. "Then why don't we start with the paternity of this baby? Is it even my dad's?" You could hear a pin drop. My dad's face went from confusion to anger in seconds. "What is she talking about, Emily?" he demanded. Emily tried to deny it, but it was obvious she was lying. Her friend looked like she wanted to disappear. My dad kept pressing, and finally Emily broke down and admitted it. There was a possibility. The baby wasn't his. Apparently, she'd been seeing someone else, someone younger, around the same time their relationship started. I couldn't believe it. After everything, betraying me, wrecking our family, acting like the victim, she wasn't even sure the baby was his. My dad stormed out, leaving Emily in tears, and the party dissolved into chaos. I left without saying another word. I wish I could say I felt vindicated, but honestly, I just felt empty. My dad got exactly what he deserved, but it didn't make any of this easier. Emily's betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible, and now our family is more broken than ever.